I Will by Lisa Kleypas. This novella is not so much at Christmas time, but the crescendo is during the Christmas season. We first met our hero in Miss Kleypas's Because You're Mine novel. I, for one, am happy to see Lord Drake again. I always want to believe the notorious rake who is destined to destroy his life and anyone else who might find themselves in their path might find someone who can reach their dark soul. In this story, Lord Drake finds himself on the brink of being disinherited by the same cruel father, the Earl of Rochester. Of course, his father couldn't prevent him from his title or the entailed property, but by God, he could remove him from his will, depleting him from the funds to finance his self-indulgent lifestyle and support the entailed property. He and his brother agreed their father was just that cruel. He had to think of something. His father was dying, and he might not have the time to prove he had changed and cleaned up his act. Not that he intended to do so for any longer than it took dear old Dad to meet his maker. Then he could return to his drinking, gambling, and womanizing. But for the time being, he had to think of something to prove to his father he had truly changed. He needed a morally upright and beyond reproach female that could convince his reprobate father he had changed. The problem was he didn't know any. Well, he knew of them, but they wouldn't be seen dead with him. He couldn't even imagine one giving him the time of day long enough to ask the favor of them. And what woman would be willing to do it? Except possibly there was one. Her brother was a friend of his, but she really despised him. She placed the entire blame on his head that her dear brother had debauched himself and tumbled so far into debt, and further than even she had imagined. Until, of course, Lord Drake enlightened her. Oh, that was news that would endear him to her and give her every reason to help the sorry excuse of a man. But when he promises her that if she will help him, not only would he stay away from her brother, he would ensure the gaming houses no longer accepted his credit. And he would pay off those crippling debts that would surely place she and her mother in the debtor's prison, or at the very least at the mercy and charity of a family member. Caroline decided he must be every bit the horrid fiend she had always heard him to be. Worse by half. But she really had no choice. She had to help the scoundrel. He really couldn't understand her disgust. He was the one who would suffer the most. He must stop drinking, gambling, and womanizing. And worse, he would have to attend all those soirees that had always disgusted him. And for how long? God, he hoped it wouldn't be too long. And he was beginning to have some strong reasons for it. Not only for having to give up a lifestyle he had grown comfortable in, but there was something about Miss Caroline Hargreaves that unnerved him. It being a Christmas novella, it was a quick read. I love that we reconnect, even if just for a short time, with Logan, Scott, and Madeline. That was a nice part. I rate this novella an A. But even with a novella, when Miss Kleypas is the author, the heat level will be at least a 3.